We are live.
Yes, again. Yay.
That's my favorite saying with you, besides what are we building together? Like those are my two favorite phrases with you. So how are you doing?
uh, I can't tell you extraordinarily well. I say, I have a friend who has a habit of like actually going the extra mile on how are you going, and he always says if it was any better, I'd need a committee.
Oh, I like that.
you know just things are going very, very well in my life, personally, in terms of things that I'm interested in and are kind of pulling me to them, and or the various things like your health and your well-being and stuff like that, and I'm living in paradise, so it's hard to beat it.
I know. I'm excited. So I'm actually going to an orchid show with my mom. It's part of her.
Yay.
Yeah, it's part of her birthday, Mother's Day. She's always wanted to go, and she is exceptional in her the way she learns and like gets granular with things. So
Mhm.
I'm excited, and I worked out. So the reason I'm saying all that is I had to work out earlier because I never give myself permission to miss a day. And today I didn't want to go, to be honest with you, John. Like there was nothing in me that said, "Hey, you know what, Sam? Get up, lift heavy weights, go for it." Now, everything
Mm.
in me screams that, but today was just a tough day to wake up. So
Uh-huh.
I had a very conscious decision that I made because I truly believe I train my mind. My mind does not train me.
Oh
So
yeah. Oh yeah.
I made a decision, and that decision was get the heck out of bed and go to the gym and go do some hard things, right? Just because you don't want to doesn't mean you can give yourself permission to get out. So progress that further. I'd like to talk today about those intentional choices, those trade-offs,
Yep.
instead of always thinking about, one facet of it or the end result, what those individual wins, those small decisions that culminate into big game changing world class behavior,
Yeah.
and what that means. Because not only did I do that, when I got into the gym, I thought it was going to give me like just a ton of energy to go for it. Well, my AirPods didn't work, so I didn't have music. I like to work out to music. So like everything was coming against me. And I said, you know what? I don't need music.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do this. And then I said, oh, I'm only going to do 10 sets, not 15. I was trying to
Mm-hmm.
give myself permission in different ways to get out of
Mm-hmm.
certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
stopped myself and I
Give
ended up
yourself
doing,
permission, is another way of saying you were trying to sell out to less.
yeah, straight up. And
Okay, got it.
and then
Okay.
and then I had the shift in my mind that said, why am I being soft? Like what? Like that's not me. If I'm gonna walk the walk, like this isn't a part of my life. This is every facet of
Uh-huh.
my life.
Uh-huh.
And I
Uh-huh.
ended up doing one more rep than 15. So I ended up doing 16, and being consistent at it throughout across the board. So I just think there's a lot of things we can explore here if you're open.
There is, and I'll tell you that what I want to go back to just before we kind of really launch, or maybe as a launching pad for what we're saying, is to actually look into decision. This is a championship conversation, by the way. Anytime that you get to the conversations about decision and choices. So decision,
Mm-hmm.
the word decide has the same root as homicide, fratricide, matricide, everything. It means to murder the opposition, or murder the other choice, murder the other decision. So when you make a decision, you actually kill the alternative.
I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, that's what it is, because the root of it is, so when you use the word, because that was the word you used, I made a decision, and then you got to then. So once you have murdered the alternative, then it becomes a choice to do the 16, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So you're at choice. Choice is freedom, but you have no freedom until you've made the decision. You've murdered the alternative.
Mm.
So this is a championship conversation, in which you said, you laying in bed and you're thinking 5 more minutes of sleep or whatever you're thinking. I don't want to go today. And like you, and this nice way of saying it, it's so disgusting. The nice way of saying it is, I was trying to give myself permission to no. What you were doing is you were actually looking at, am I going to sell out? Well, or am I going to murder that? Selling out is the alternative. Am I going to murder the alternative and just do my word? Do what I say. This is the championship decision. Murder the alternative. And then, now I have the choice. Not only do I have the choice, I have the choice to do one more. So 15 was what you gave as your word, and I have the choice to do a little more. This is an in-life kind of conversation that champions have. Like that. So decision first, murder the alternative. And then once upon that, now you're at the point where you're at your word. Then you have the choice to do one more. I just wanted to distinguish.
That was that level set me quite nicely, because it's exactly what happened.
Yeah. So good on you on murdering the alternative today.
Yeah, I mean, when you say it like that, it hits a little different, to be honest.
And it's always the same thing. It's alternative to what? Alternative to your word. And the word you gave to who? You gave to yourself. So you give your word to yourself, and then it always comes up that you have this conversation about giving yourself permission not to do your word. What a bunch of bullshit that is.
Hey, way to call me out. I love it. But can I highlight something else you said, which sparked something in me? We always hear these quotes, these sayings, you versus you versus you, look in the mirror, what do you see, But many people don't explore what it actually means, and you just laid out what that means.
Yeah.
Right? So making the decision, right? And owning up to your word and making the choice.
Yep.
And when I say I don't have my mind train me, I train my mind. Well, that is also part of the aspects you just broke down. I just have valid garbage to it, but
well, there's no question about it. What we're at is where you get at the bottom of it all, there is who you're being. And so there is an actual study of the being of human beings. It's called ontology. So the ontological question is, who am I being in this moment? Am I being my word? Because we know that, well, Heidegger said that the being of human being arises in the house of language. It's in your word. So you give your word, then you are constantly faced with the decision to keep your word. And once you've actually made that decision and murdered the alternative, then you are at choice to go beyond your word.
So building upon that, when you make your decision, and you've made your choice, and you have ownership mindset to not only living your word, but being your word and going on. Right? How do you celebrate those wins? Because I find I always move to the next thing, because I'm living in this infinite game of the next thing. That's the athlete in me. And one of the things I'm trying to do more of is, when I make those choices, celebrate them, so I realize the importance of what the magnitude of what that is going to do.
Well, it doesn't matter what the situation is. The celebration is always the accomplishment. So celebrating the accomplishment, like the actual acquisition of a skill level, of an ability to lift a little more weight, or in some cases, it's like a richer relationship with the person who you're intimate with, or a richer, particularly a richer relationship with your children and kids and so on like that. But that it comes in a sequence called your beings. That's the first thing. Then there's the action, and then there's the accomplishment, or what you have out of that. Be, do, have is the sequence that it's called. And where we get in trouble is where we start doing do, have, and we're not really relating to the being, that the word that's giving a rise to who we are going to be in action. So you call your actions, and your actions then actually unfold into your accomplishments. That's the celebration. Celebration is having a stronger body. You don't have to sit there and kind of like, okay, we're going to do New Year's Eve on it. You will have a stronger body. You will have a stronger relationship. You will have a stronger business. You will have a stronger place to stand in your attack of towards life. You will be winning.
I love that, because it's interesting. I've had people around me that oftentimes, specifically to me, so this is firsthand, that they'll say, Sam, like, you accomplished this. Like, go take yourself out to dinner, go celebrate something tangible. And I've always struggled with that.
Yeah,
It's
it's nice, but it's moot. It's
it ends.
literally is like, okay, it's nice, but it's off purpose.
Yeah. And so what I have found is my celebration is, well, let me share that with someone so then they can incorporate it. Or
Well, the thing is, they want you to celebrate because they want to be engaged and included in your celebration. Your celebration is a stronger body. Your celebration is a higher capacity to be able to do what it is that you say that it is you're going to do. And yeah, you got to eat. So you might, so when you're eating, there's a moment of, there's something really that's important around eating. Really important around eating. This is about it's about socialization. It's about how we relate to one another. The initial way that human beings relate around each other is they have a meal together.
They share a meal. Mm-hmm.
So there's that. And so one thing that brings up is that's the moment of gratitude for the quality of the relationships. And that's the celebration.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I mean, that's how I view it.
Gratitude. Celebration is a gratitude in that case.
And one of the things for me with like goals, and when you're shifting your mentality, when you're getting to that next level, that next standard and ideal, when you're trying to figure out how do I expand to include, when you're trying to live and walk in world class to get to world champion levels,
right?
You don't have time to like skip around and say, "Oh yeah, we did it." It now becomes part of the new standard.
It would be like it would be like you're climbing this eternal ladder, and as you get up to the next rung, you decide, "Okay, I'm going to do a dance now," and you do your little dance, and then you get up to the next rung, and then you do a little dance. All of that time that you spent doing your little celebratory dancing, you could have gone up 3 or 4 or 5 more rungs.
Yeah. Now, if someone's having a hard go at it and they accomplish something big that has pivoted them from a plateau, absolutely it warrants kind of a broader kind of conversation.
Stop.
It does.
Take a hot 5 minutes and talk about it.
No more, no less. Yeah, I love that.
I mean, the thing is, what kind of a conversation we're having? We're having a championship conversation. We're not having the ordinary, oh, Shazam, I just went from being special to extraordinary for a minute. Like that. We're not having that lower level conversation. We're having the upper level. This is the elite. This is the way elite athletes think. This is the way elite business people think. This is the way elite spiritual people think. This is the way elite human beings think.
Yeah.
Okay, keep going. Keep going.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, it's an area where you said it at the beginning. It really hits a bandwidth of just life in general.
The purpose, as I think about it, what you're saying, the purpose I would say of celebration is when you celebrate, invite a lot of people so you can inspire them and bring them along.
That biggest thing. And they need to come up, right?
They need to come up.
Down.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's their job to come up. It's not your job to stop. It's your job to say, for, inspire them to go past you.
Of course. And that's one of the things that the external world is not conditioned to think in that way. They're conditioned on power. I want to be
Yeah,
success, me. I want
yeah.
to stay in stage 3.
I want
I'm
to
there.
hoard something. I want to hoard something,
Yeah,
rather than giving it away, because giving it away is really what champions do. They do it, they give it away. Why? Because you're lighter. You're carrying less baggage.
yeah,
when you're in action like that. It's like uh, uh, runners don't run wearing a business suit. They put on a track outfit, and it's the lightest it could possibly be, and the shoes are the lightest. I get the lightest shoes with the best spikes and so on like that. I want to be as light as possible so I can run as fast as I can. And if you're saying, hey, wait for me, no, it's hey, catch up.
of course. And the power of, like we were talking about, like one more, right? After you make a decision
Yes,
and you make your choices,
yes, yes.
it really is applicable to life. And
I think so.
I think the biggest thing that I've overcome over the last couple of years is keeping parts of my life siloed, because as an athlete, I become a master compartmentalizer. When things are going wrong, or I put it to the back, or I close that door and then I open this door, and I'm able to do a lot of different things, but sometimes I never was dealing with it. I was never going back to deal to grow from. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, well, there's a couple of things. One is integration, that you're integrating all of the aspects of your life so that they're all shining. And the other one is that you are working on your kind of what I call the holes in your game.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, work on the things that and do the things that actually are shining and so on like that. But also work on the holes in your game. That's part of it, part and parcel. But you should spend a portion of all of your training sessions working on that which you are the weakest at. But you shouldn't spend all your time working on that. And
Exactly.
you should integrate that, and you'll get better at everything incrementally.
100%. And someone made a very, I thought it was astute at the time. You may be like, ah, yeah, I already knew this. But they said, the little moments, and getting those little moments right.
Mhm.
Well, if you're in a relationship with someone, or if you're married to someone, or
Mhm.
anything, that any person you see every day, right? You leave the house, you come back into the house, you share meals, all of that, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
80% of the time, if you can get, and now I hate the 80/20, but I think the data rolled up
I
to
don't. The Pareto distribution, it totally is true in
yeah,
life.
but bear with me here. So like 80-90% of, if you get leaving the house, being very intentional with saying, have a good day, being very intentional with that. And when they come home,
Yes.
it completely changes the dynamic and environment of the overall household, the unit. And
Well,
it's expanding on, everyone's so worried about, oh, we need to go on a vacation and connect intimately that way, or we need to do, go fishing because he likes to fish and I'm going to do what he wants to do because it's always about me. And it's, no, hold on a minute. It was the inquiry around, well, why don't you just say hello and goodbye with full intention and being purpose driven, those moments, because you get those moments right, the rest follow.
let me tell you something. I'm going to share something that's really kind of intimate for me, but to share. uh, Many years ago, I was in love with a woman, and I mean, I was in love with this woman. And we had been together. We were together for 7 years,
Mhm.
and in the beginning of our relationship, she taught me something. She said, when I'd hang up on the phone, she'd say you love me, and I say I do love you. And she said, well, say you love me. I say why? She said because if anything ever happened, we would feel terrible if we hadn't said I love you.
Mhm.
So we had a practice where whenever we left each other, we said, I love you. Whenever we saw each other, we say, I love you. And it was in our relationship. We had this amazing relationship. Down the road, I was on the phone with her once. I was working in a place and I was away from her, and I was on the phone and I talked to her. It was a Sunday afternoon.
Mhm.
And I said, I love you. And she said, I love you. And I hung up. And on Tuesday night, she died. And all I have of her name is Marlene, but all I have of her to keep her alive, and she's alive in my life every day, was I love you. And it was exactly that. It was exactly that. It was have a nice day taken to the best level.
Wow.
I'm telling you, it makes a difference, because it is now, she passed away in the late 90s, like 1997.
Mhm.
And I still miss her, and she's still alive in my life. But I know that when she died and when I died, we were in love with each other, and we said it. Made a big difference.
It makes a huge difference, and thank you for sharing. I it it just brings together a lot of what we just talked about making a decision to be
Mm-hmm.
purpose driven, to
Mm-hmm.
make
Mm-hmm.
those little things actually a high priority, and then the choice to do it every day and part of practice, right? And have the conversation and make sure that you never
Well,
go.
look at how we justify not doing it. We actually make up a story that it's not cool.
Of course, yeah, that's a good way
It's
to.
not cool. How hokey to say have a nice day or I love you. It's not cool. Well, let me tell you something. It is cool. It is cool.
Cool. It is, and being so vulnerable and
Yeah.
putting your walls down. So
Letting people know that you love them, that you need them, letting them know that you're on their team, letting them know that you are like an attaboy, give them a pat on the back, is cool.
it's beyond, and it really builds upon what we started to talk about, decisions and choices and being more than just elite, being world class and a world champion in life.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
one of the things that I think is so misguided is people keep business personal, like they silo life. And for me, I want to integrate
Unbelievable that you are so true. You are so right about that. They silo it.
they do, and it's in my assessment, it's insecurity, inability to integrate, and they want to hide parts of themselves and not have to fully be vulnerable because maybe they had some they gave themselves that permission, right? They gave themselves
Mhm.
that excuse. And
Disgusting.
for me, as I'm becoming in a different mindset and level of aspiring to be a world champion in life, I want to integrate all of these things and I want to be surrounded. And I'm okay if I only have 3 people in my inner circle. And
Yep.
I want that to be a catalyst for, I don't need to rely on other people's, you can do it. But it's important when you have your off days and you have a decision that you've made, but the choice is tough for you.
That's right.
That also can help you get over that hurdle.
Listen, that's the thing about being at a champion and above, a champion, world class, and world champion at those three levels. It is never not that you didn't choose it. They chose it.
Yeah.
They chose it. They made the decision and did the work and put in the time and hit the bar, and they created the standard. And then they said, I choose the ideal. And they chose to live in the gap. And they chose it over and over and over and over again. Over and over and over again means practice. Practice is a virtue. Virtue builds character.
Mm-hmm.
Character. So they have the character of one who chooses the destiny of a champion.
Yeah, and I'm working on that, right? I am working on the vulnerability, right? I live my life for being authentic and
Mm-hmm.
connecting with people, and genuinely
Mm-hmm.
when I have the conversation, I'm
Mm-hmm.
150% present.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking you in the eyes and I'm trying to understand your why. I
Mm-hmm.
really am, John, but I have, some pieces of me that I get scared to be fully vulnerable all the way because
Mhm. Mhm.
the external world has conditioned to
Mhm.
use that as a potential leverage against
Mhm.
you.
But the leverage is mental.
It is, you're right, and that's where I am
And that's where
in
you
the
have
area.
the
It's a
you've
whole
got the, shall we say, the control or the upper hand there. Once you realize, "Oh, this is a mental bullshit thing going on here." You know, this is something that is at the level of personality. The word persona means mask. It's at the level of how people present and are worried about presenting themselves to the world. And this is about someone else's persona. And this is a mental thing about how they are trying to justify me good, you bad. This is doing a stage 3, stage 2 bullshit thing.
Yeah, and, it's interesting because 'cause I've put avatars on, like, you're right,
Uh-huh.
I put avatars on my whole life, and part of the avatars was actually in a positive way. It was, you can do hard things. If you need a little comfort to just get on the stage and put some avatar on and get out there and then come into your own, fine, I'm good with
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
Because we all need a little push. We all need, and then you're going to realize you never needed the avatar in the first place. But hey, as long as you took your first step, get it done. Do it.
Whatever it takes to
Whatever it takes.
get you rolling. The hardest, the rolling the rock up the hill every single day. And the hard part is getting it rolling. Once you get it rolling, you're on the way.
That's exactly it. And
Yeah.
that is
What
what I share
a
with so many
conversation.
people. I've put avatars on my whole life. I don't fake it till I make it. I don't believe in that crap.
Well, tell me about what you mean by avatars. When you put avatars on, I'm not quite sure I understand.
So when I was kind of going into business at the early stages here,
Uh-huh.
I didn't have any traditional work experience, right? But I knew I had experiential skills that made me more than capable, equipped, and prepared, right?
Okay. Okay.
Now, sometimes mentally, I knew I could be an asset to a team. There was no doubt in my mind. I just needed the
Uh-huh.
door. So sometimes I had to put the avatar on to even get in proximity to a door because I didn't think I belonged. I didn't have the 10 years of experience. I didn't have the 20 years to just even get into the room where the door exists.
Uh-huh.
What I had to do is get uncomfortable, or get comfortable with being uncomfortable in settings because I'm naturally an introvert. Most people think I'm an extrovert. So I
Right.
have to go into these huge social settings where my energy, my battery was going down, but everything in me wanted to do it. So I would have that overdrive that an elite world class has, right? So I would be able to like recharge my battery in real time. But I had to take the first step to even go out, right? To put myself in the social setting.
Yeah, I can get that. I never have thought about it about avatars, but the way that I do think about it is keeping your word to yourself in the face of your fear.
Yeah.
You know, it's there. You said a really interesting thing a minute ago. You said, I'm really an introvert. I think the really good ones are. I don't think they're a total introvert. I think they're an introvert that has developed the skill of being able to be out there with
Introvert,
people
extrovert, for sure.
like that, like that, but basically given their own choices. The way that you measure introvert extrovert in Myers-Briggs is how do you recharge your battery? Do you recharge your battery by going out and being with the crowd and being with the mob and partying or whatever it is that you do? Or do you recharge your battery by being quiet, by reading, by whatever else like that? That's the actual way that you measure introvert, extrovert. I'm an introvert, you're introvert. It is my considered opinion, and it's an opinion, that the people who get to world class and world championship are introverts, and they have learned to be out there.
Yeah. I don't disagree with it. I mean, I would have to go back to my room and like, you know,
Yeah.
just like get myself centered. And that's why I I find it so hard that it's hard for me to meditate because I've got so much going on in my head, and I'm like,
Right, right,
you said
right,
it's a good way to like ground yourself, and like the breathing techniques have helped me. And I've
right,
interfaced with many big time, like elite people that have helped give me that skill that now I've put in my toolbox. But
right.
that's an area I've struggled. And because I've struggled in that, I've probably not opened up to some people because then I also thought vulnerability, weakness. Right. So I've had to work on.
Well, there are people out there who are kind of a lot of them are charismatic, but they're stuck at stage 3 where they are, I'm great, you're not, and they will use you. They will take from you, they will put you down. Those are not the people that we're talking about that ever reach the level of true champion, world-class, world champion
Yeah.
category, but they do get to the point of being very special, like hyper special. And it is it's like taking a car that, it doesn't look so good. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to put a great paint job on it, and we're going to put a lot of chrome on it and a great set of wheels. Oh, wow, that's got to be a great car. No, it's that same crappy car with great wheels on it,
Yeah. Yeah.
that sort of thing. So it's stage 3 stuff. And it takes most people away. Most people actually are hooked like a fish to kind of behind that because they don't know who they are.
Of course.
You know who you are. And as long as you are true to your word in the face of your fear, and you are actually making that decision, that's what you're going to do, is you're going to keep your word and then live in the gap of that. And I now have the choice to do more. That's you are on the championship path or cycle.
And that's where I'm at. And there's
Yep.
some areas, right, where I've excelled exceptionally, right? But
Yes,
I
yes,
don't want to live in a siloed life. So therefore, if it is not integrated, I'm not there yet. And I'm okay because I have the want, the will, the fight in me to do what is required to get it done.
that's right. And in any area that you actually approach, the thing that really becomes evident for people that are like you and people who practice these practices and so on like that, is that it doesn't matter what they attack. Okay, so they attack some sport and they've become really good at it because they've been able to discipline their body and get good at it, get to the point where they are unconsciously competent at playing football or
Right.
fencing or playing tennis or whatever the deal is, swimming. It doesn't matter. But to take that and that drive and that capacity and that intelligence, I'm going to say that intelligence, and apply it to another field like business, apply it to another field like your personal relationships, to your relationship with your children in particular. You're going to hear me always coming back to with children like that, because that's the next generation. That's your job. That's your job, is to apply your intelligence, make the decision to apply your intelligence, and then use the choice to apply it effectively in another field.
Well said.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
biggest thing. That's the biggest thing that I drive. It's you can get education anywhere. You can have a
yep,
conversation and
yep,
learn
yep,
something new. It's how do
yep,
you apply, and then to your point, when you value ping pong me and correct
yep,
and
yep,
make the choice, right? To, you've already made a decision to be here. Fine, that's great. But what's your choice, right? To be fully present, to do that one more, to be intentional, to say good morning, goodbye every day consistently, to do what is
absolutely,
required to
absolutely.
integrate. I mean, it's John, you know what? This one hits me because it's an area I'm really working on. But, last week we were talking about the lighthouse, right? Talking about the sun. And when you do all of these things and you make those decisions and you make those conscious choices and you do what is required, that ends up becoming your lighthouse because it becomes a part of like who you are, and the people you
Mhm,
have serve
mhm.
as your lighthouse, serves as your place.
Well, the beauty of it is that if you do this and share it, you build a culture around you of this. And there's nothing more supportive than being in a supportive culture. But, you know, it's really hard to be on your own doing everything all by yourself.
Yeah.
But if you take a look, it's a big world out there, and there are a lot of people who are actually making the decision and making the choices every day to be a champion, to be a world class, to be whatever, at whatever they do. And to recognize that they don't have to be in my sport or actually in my activity form, but they are just great at what they do. That's why I keep bringing up that guy that I hope I meet him someday, that little Japanese kid who's so incredible with the
Yo-yo.
yoga. Yeah, unbelievable, unbelievable, because he is absolutely a world champion.
Mhm.
And with something as like that, well, what's the difference? It's a mentality. It's what he's had to do, the choices and the decisions that he's made along the way, that
Mhm.
he's going to do that instead of, you know, I don't know, you know, go eat ice cream or something.
Well, John, this one's great, and we continue to build upon the concepts. And I, this one
This
I'm
is
gonna have
such
to
an
reflect on.
incredible, it's such an incredible field to be conversing inside of.
Yeah,
You know,
it just, it's. I say this often to you, and I really mean it. It's like such a high honor to even share space with you. Like
mm,
that is how much I think of you, because you you have expanded to include, you have leveled me up, you have opened those doors, and you still give me the space to learn as I go, but force me up.
you know, we can talk about that someday, but I will tell you that from my point of view, from which is the only one that matters, but from
Okay.
my point of view, you're a blessing in my life, and you are an opportunity for me to pass on something that I've learned over a lifetime of like kind of beating my head against a wall, so to speak. And you know, and I've actually gotten through and broken through in a number of areas and so on like that. But you and people like you and everything are just the blessing in my life, and you're what give vitality and vibrance to my life. So there.
I love it. I appreciate you, and as always, thank you. Thank you for
Oh,
being you,
thank you.
and thank you
Thank
for
you.
being. It's today's Wednesday. Who are my partners? And
Yes,
uh,
exactly. Go build triads.
I couldn't have a better partner in you. So thank you so much. And
Thank you, my dear. I
all
really
right.
appreciate it. Okay, see you next week.